Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new TIFF 2019 interview. This is for the movie Saint Maud, and I have the team behind the film right here. First off, whoever wants to do this duty, just because everyone out there is not going to know what Saint Maud is just yet, what is this movie about?
Oh, no.
It's bound to happen a couple times today.
Yeah, I know. It's about a quite lonely, reclusive young nurse called Maud, played by Morfydd. And she's a live-in nurse, and she starts caring for her new patient, Amanda, played by Jennifer here. But she's got quite a sort of a strange relationship with God, and we quickly realise there's more to it than meets the eye, and she thinks that God's kind of sending her secret signals and communication throughout the day, and gets it into her head that she's been sent to save Amanda's soul before she dies.
That was like you had prepared that in advance. That was an A+ tease. No, that was perfect.
Cool.
That's a great elevator pitch.
Yeah.
What was your very first impression of the script, and what were some of the biggest questions you had before jumping into the actual shoot?
Well, I remember first of all very clearly where I was when my agent rang me about the script, because she was so excited about it, and she likes lots of scripts, but this one just seemed different. And then I remember reading it, didn't know anything about what it was about, but have lots of family that work within the NHS, so it immediately kind of grabbed me, and then just read it all in one go really quickly, and then just stared at the ceiling for about an hour.
I didn't know that.
Aghast. And
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. It was just, I just wanted to do it so much. And I remember after every audition thinking it was awful, my auditions, because I wanted it so badly. So yeah, immediately I loved it.
So you get the role. Is there a part in a script where like you're circling it and you're like, on that day, like, I don't know, like that is the most intimidating day for me?
I think I just felt very nervous about the whole thing, as I was saying, because it was the first thing that I've been a lead in. But I think the producers of this film really took a huge amount of care to make sure that everyone felt very comfortable in every department the whole way through. And that really just made everything just seem so manageable. So there wasn't really, once I got there and met everyone, the terror kind of left me. Yeah.
I was reading that for both of these roles, what you wound up with here isn't exactly what you initially pictured. So can you tell me a little bit about the transition from writing these characters and then finding these two wonderful ladies to bring that role to screen?
Yeah, I mean, sort of not in kind of like radically sort of totally different, but yeah, of course, like when you're just having these characters in your head and you're working on it by yourself for so long, you sort of think you've got this very clear idea, and then obviously when you start sort of seeing and meeting real people, they obviously bring something completely different. I mean, I think maybe initially the kind of like the age gap was kind of bigger, and then I started just getting nervous, particularly with like the Amanda character, because originally she was written as English as well and a little bit older, and I just started to feel that it wasn't like, as I was writing it, I think we cast more for the ready, I can't remember, but anyway, it just felt like I was in danger of the character going into this slightly more sort of theatrical kind of Miss Havisham-y sort of thing. And, you know, it's about a young woman who kind of becomes obsessed with this other woman, and she kind of like feels that they've got this sort of strange connection, and so it felt like it should be someone kind of cooler and sort of more, I don't know. So, and then just making her American as well, particularly like because the character lives in this weird little kind of seaside town, it just kind of added this extra layer of like, how did she get here? And it just seemed a bit more interesting, and sort of meant that both the characters, because more of it's Welsh obviously and Jennifer's American, and they're both in this English seaside town. Again, it just gives another little layer of them being outsiders together, and so that was part of that. And then Morfydd, the Maud character, was, I think I did a draft where it kind of described her as being like hugely tall or something like this. But I think in my head I was
she was taller than the one I read.
Yeah, like in the very beginning. I don't know. But again, I think that's one of those things when you're writing it, you're sort of, a lot of some things when you write them, I don't know, things become more nuanced when you get actual people sort of doing it. So as I was writing it, I felt like there needed to be something sort of quite distinctive about the way she looked that sort of made her sort of stick out a bit. It just sort of, we started looking down that route in the casting, and it just didn't sort of work. It sort of felt, I realised that actually no, she kind of needs to be somebody that can sort of hide and blend in a bit more. And I think you were like the last person we saw as well, pretty much.
Really?
Like at first I was kind of like thinking, oh no, I don't know. Then you came in, and it's like, oh my god, amazing, it's fantastic.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jennifer, can you tell me about joining this project? Because we spoke earlier this year for the Wolf Hour, and I just get really excited when I see a very familiar face that I imagine could get just about any project she wants, picking up all these really interesting things. So even though this project and that, two entirely different films, is there something that consistently needs to stay the same from opportunity to kind of draw you in?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think, well, both those films actually, because they are wildly different, but they both do very much have their own world aesthetically. And I think part of Morfydd being Welsh and me being American and being in that seaside town, it helps create that world where they're kind of that Rose takes us into. That's very, very different. I don't know. I just love when you read a voice like Rose's. That's so, I don't know. There's a core of confidence to you and to your work it's just really exciting and rich, and you could really feel it on the set that right from the beginning that we were all there because of Rose. And you don't always get that feeling working on a job, that absolutely every single person just wanted to help her realize this to the best of their ability.
I could feel that so much just reading the press notes. There were so many people who gave quotes that said, from your prior work, from film school, right? That everybody wanted to back you, make this thing happen for you because they believed in you. To backtrack a little bit, because we talk about this often, I find that people are always asking, like, should I go to film school? Is it worth the money, or should I just go out and get experience? Just from your perspective, what would you say to someone who is wondering whether or not that path is right for them?
It's a really tricky one to say because, I mean, obviously so much of it comes into, if you can get the funding to go there in the first place. So I sort of don't want to be kind of like, you must go to film school. Like, I think that it's an industry where there are a lot of different routes into it. I think I had a great time at the film schools I went to. They were fantastic. I'm sure I wouldn't sort of be doing what I am now, particularly sort of maybe as soon as I did, without having gone there. But also, I don't know. But then arguably going to film school also, it's definitely not for everyone because I think it's hard to teach any creative subject. It's a great school, but you do get, the flip side of it is that you do get you can get a bit sort of entrenched in kind of, right, this is how you do this and you do that, and it gets you a bit uptight in a way. So in a way, like the years since going out of film school, part of it's been sort of loosening some of that up a bit and being like, okay, well, that's a way of doing something, and realising so, I mean, arguably, and if you don't go through the film school route, potentially it might be more conducive to kind of finding a more unique personal voice. I don't know.
I feel like there's no broad answer to that question.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's about feeling out your own path, but kind of applying what you just said to this movie in particular. Was there any situation where you said to yourself, like, this is how I'm going to shoot this scene, and then there was that happy magic on set and something came out of it that you didn't plan for?
Oh yeah, loads. But now obviously my brain's completely blanking, so I'm kind of like, I mean, going into it, I particularly the visual style and kind of how we're shooting things, I do have a fairly sort of clear idea in my head of how it should all look, even as I'm writing it, and sort of where the cuts are and that sort of thing. And like before every day shooting, we'll have the shot list already, and then me and Ben Fordsman, the DOP, kind of go around going, okay, we start here, we go here. But I think I like having that much preparation so that then if stuff does come up, you can kind of move around it.
You and Ben had such a good relationship in terms of, I think when we all came on set, you already knew what you were doing. So we didn't feel like we had to be
balanced.
prodded
I
about.
hope you guys never, because obviously you kind of got a clear idea of, okay, we'll go here and here, but you need to, obviously, if we're kind of doing a scene and it's like, oh, this isn't right, then you should be able to change stuff and prioritise that. It obviously should be led by performance, what the actor's doing, but sorry, it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer.
Give yourself more credit. For the two of you two, I want to know a little bit about your collaboration, because we don't get to see too often two characters where one brings something out of the other so much. It's like I couldn't learn more about one by herself. You needed to be a pair here. So what were the kind of conversations you had jumping into that?
I don't think we ever talked about the characters, did we?
I don't know yet. I think we just kind of...
I feel like there was maybe half an hour or something in your dressing room, sort of at one point before like the start of the shoot, because you'd come to England so shortly before the shoot started.
What there was we did. I know we talked.
Okay, but I think there was so much in the script. Like, I didn't feel... It was so clear, I thought in my mind, who Maud was and who, like, I had a clear idea of who Amanda was, and then when I met Jennifer, it was just like, oh, yes, I can see it all. So I don't think we consciously were like, let's talk about this. It would just kind of come up.
Sometimes it can be, sometimes if you talk in a situation like this too much, you can even out the, it's nice to have your secrets, especially with something where they're two such very individual and lonely people. It's kind of nice for each one to kind of keep your mystery a little bit. And sometimes it's nice not to kind of to share too much with the other actor about what you're expecting. And also, I think it was so clear in the script. And again, we trusted Rose, so.
Yeah, because it's two characters who aren't supposed to know each other at the beginning of the film, and a big part of it is them sort of finding stuff out about each other. So I thought it was quite, I think the first scene we shot was sort of Maud's first day, sort of taking care of Amanda, and I think obviously adding to first day on shoot, none of us knew each other very well, so it gives things a slight tension.
It does,
But that works, because, that's kind of how Maud is. When she turns up, everything's quite nice.
Yeah. Sitting here with a bunch of wonderful women, can you tell me a little bit about just the experience? I mean, this is a very broad question, but just the experience of like all uniting together as female filmmakers, making something that we might not have been able to see a little while ago.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's exciting.
There was just so much respect for everybody on set, and I think that's kind of also what's important when discussing any of this stuff about kind of feminism or everything, that you have to have just respect for everyone. Not kind of platform people, but like be extra careful with someone for a particular reason.
Lots of great men as well.
Yeah, but just it really was lovely. I don't think I would have struggled doing such a part if that wasn't the environment that I was doing it in. And like particularly with Jennifer, like Jennifer was just so nurturing and lovely to me in this, and it was just so important. I didn't realise until afterwards how different it could have been, say, if we hadn't clicked or something. So, yeah.
Before we have to wrap up, because you speak so highly of just the whole environment on set, if you had to name one unsung hero of St. Maud, who would it be? Anyone from a PA to
you've asked this question before.
This is one of my favorite questions because we never talk. I mean, we were talking earlier in another interview about a caterer who made a difference on one day.
I can't pick one person out. I'd feel too bad. So that's you guys choose.
It's really hard to pick someone out. I think for me it would have, I don't think she's an unsung hero at all, but Jaquetta, who did my hair and makeup, I think it wouldn't have been Amanda without her, but I don't consider her we had a wonderful props guy. But everybody was amazing.
Tina, who did the costumes, just
Tina's
wonderful.
a fucking legend. I mean, she is a legend.
I don't know who did the makeup effects, but there's one particular scene on this that I'm not going to spoil for anyone out there, but I applaud that. It was so well done.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my.
And the costume.
Which one?
Oh, sorry, yeah, we're not supposed to.
I don't want to say it out loud.
Oh, I know.
Actually, Tina's over
one beat.
the costumes as well. She's fantastic, and she's completely mad and brilliant, and she's very sort of patient with me because there's a key sort of costume towards the end of the film, like kind of saintly sort of thing, which we didn't in the script. It was like completely different to what it is there, and she made this thing which I'd sort of asked her to, and then I was like, oh no, it's not right, and it all came together fantastically.
I would say Jackson and Simone, who were the runners as well, because I fell down the stairs on the first day and was like slightly incapacitated, and they just looked after me so much. So yeah, they were amazing.
Shader.
There were a lot of stairs. We had a fire escape.
Honestly, I've never been looked at with such concern as when I opened my eyes above the stairs on the first day.
Like Morfydd's fallen down the stairs. Like,
I know you have to go, but came out in a scene towards the end where I look rather upsetting, potentially, and we had this long fire escape down the side of the building. We had to go to lunch at the building next door, and I went down the stairs, and there was a little boy, and he burst into tears when he saw me. And he like turned his head into his mother's skirt and was like sobbing.
Like
and then Jennifer told me,
I know,
he
seriously.
was scarred for life.
And then Jennifer told me that, and I was like, oh, that's so sad. And then like, yes.
Oh, I hate to say goodbye, but I have to let you go.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations on
Thank
the movie.
you.
Enjoy your time at TIFF. St.
Thank
Maud,
you, Perry.
keep an eye out for it. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors over at Nordstrom Canada. Thank you for making these interviews happen. Do not leave without liking and sharing this video, and stay tuned for more coverage from TIFF 2019.